Hello world, welcome back to Content on Content, where we review the internet. Today we've got like a little spicy reaction from Mr. Mark Goldbridge from the United Stand. Shout out to him. I'll put the links in the description. Great news channel for Man United supporters, which of course I am. So big up to him, big up to his team over there, doing great work, giving us great content. Shout out to all the other YouTubers, especially the Man United ones, obviously, but there's a lot of good YouTubers out there that do football content and other content as well. And I'll be reviewing some of their stuff in another reaction, not in this one. So we're going to get into this one. It's a reaction on the England match, and more specifically mainstream media, the narratives that they have, the agendas that they have. Are they truthful? Are they not? Are they running with an agenda? Do they have favourites? Let's get into it.
As I say, we should be aspiring for elite level sport here. I think where the modern game has gone wrong and where society in general is going wrong is that it doesn't focus on the purpose of what we're talking about. It just wants to create this, some people call it woke, I don't call it that, but you know what I mean. This just, you can't do this, you can't do that. And we operate. The reason many of us love football is because we love to lose, we love to win, we love the passion. We don't love to lose, but the passion and feeling you get when you lose makes it so much better than when you win. It's competitive. And if you do something that's competitive and you live in that world of competition, then there are losers and there are winners. And losers sometimes lose because they're not good enough, and people will say they lost because they're not good enough. Welcome to competitive sport. What I don't like is the Southgates of this world and everybody else who, when somebody's not good, comes out and tells everybody else that you can't say that. Well, you should leave competitive sport. There's plenty of things you can do that aren't competitive. Go for a walk on your own without a dog, because even your dog might try and walk ahead of you. Oh, don't do that. You can't do that. Stop being a hater. Get your nose and your arse out of competitive sport if you don't like it when people say that person's not very good. Now, look, this takes me on to what Southgate said last night. So, Gareth Southgate on Harry...
Okay, here we go, people. So, that little tangent that he was on was off the back of some stuff that's been going on regarding Jadon Sancho and a post that he's put on his Twitter account. And if you don't know about it, go look it up. You're clearly, living under a rock somewhere if you follow sport and you aren't aware of it. So let's get into the whole Southgate statement. This is going to be a good one.
Maguire. Now remember, Gareth Southgate has picked Harry Maguire for this international break, despite him hardly playing for Man United in a year, being fifth choice Man United centre-back. Gareth Southgate chose to pick Harry Maguire, even though nobody in this country really thought that was a good idea. He then started him against the Ukraine, and then yesterday in a friendly, he brought him on at half-time when Colwill, who starts for Chelsea and is a young left-footed centre-back, and Tomori, who plays for AC Milan, haven't played 1 minute for England in this international break, and they are in the squad and they were on the bench. But Maguire played a full game against Ukraine, and then he brings him on at half-time in a friendly.
Riddle me this. Why is that? Like he said, fifth. I would say maybe sixth, but fifth place and not really played in the year, but yet people that are playing weekly, and you can tell he's not Man United biased. I mean, in terms of saying, oh, well, another player should be playing instead of, a team that plays for Chelsea or AC Milan. It's literally on merit. And I'm sure back in the day, it used to be like, oh, you're smashing it for your club. So you're bound to get an England call up, and that's what it was based on. And you'd have the England coaches going from game to game, premierships, championships, La Ligas across Europe, you know, looking at the players that they thought they wanted in their squads and, you know, picking them if they've done well for their club side. But apparently now you don't have to even play for your club side and you still get picked.
Instead of Colwill or Tamori in a friendly, he's still putting Harry Maguire on, right? Harry Maguire, who never lets England down, scores an own goal for Scotland and doesn't play very well. And then Southgate comes out and says this: it's a consequence of ridiculous treatment of him for a long period of time. It's a joke. I've never known a player treated like it, not by Scottish fans, but our own commentators, pundits, and whatever it is.
Before he continues, Scottish fans are always going to rib you. It's like Man United playing at Liverpool. Like, we got hammered 7-0 last season. Regardless of finishing above them in the league, 7-0 is a good slapping, a drubbing, as some may say. And obviously, Liverpool fans are not going to let Man United fans forget that in a hurry, you know? They're like, without reply as well. So that's the nature of football. And you can bet your bottom dollar if we had spanked them 7-0, then they probably wouldn't hear the end of it for a long time as well. And that's just how it is. It's like football banter, goes back and forth.
It's beyond anything I've seen. And I say to this, people need to call Southgate to action here. What is he talking about? Who are you calling out here, mate? Are you calling out United fans? Are you calling me out? Who are you calling out? And you know what? If you're England manager, grow a pair and name names.
What do you mean by that?
Because those names have a right to reply to your silly comment. What are you talking about? I mean, I'm stunned by it.
I actually agree. This is, again, the whole mainstream media painting a different narrative, though, isn't it? And this is why mainstream media sometimes piss me off. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I saw this when Andrew Tate invited the BBC into his Romanian home to do an exclusive. They sent some bulldog who went in there and was almost acting like she was some sort of Gestapo. Oh, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And he very quickly took her down a peg or two and said, we're both human beings. I've invited you here. Have some respect. And she piped down a smidge. But it's like she already had the agenda, and she was trying to rattle him and get him to say certain things and paint a certain narrative before she's even asked him what's going on. She didn't even say to him, oh, are you okay for, you know, spending time in prison? It's almost like, yeah, you deserve to be in prison. So she already had made her mind up. And I don't think that you can report on the news if you've already made your mind up. If you're not happy to have a look at both sides, and even if you have a certain point of view, if you have a debate with someone and they make a point, you need to be able to go, okay, I never thought of it that way, but I still think that I'm right. Or actually, I never thought of it that way. I'm taking on board what you say, and I actually think that, you know, I can see things from a different perspective.
I'm absolutely stunned about. So Harry Maguire's criticism is not a result of bad performances, nepotism, and ridiculous selections by Southgate. It's actually to do with some conspiracy theory that's been going on for a long time, that he is being victimised because he is unique from everybody else and he gets treated badly for no reason. Okay. There are so many layers to this, Gareth, but let me lay it down to you. Erik ten Hag is a million times better coach than you.
Facts.
You don't say.
You are a bad coach.
Facts.
Eric Ten Hag doesn't pick Harry Maguire. He would rather pick Victor Lindelof, Martinez, Varane, and Luke Shaw ahead of him.
Who are all a million times better. Sorry, I feel like I'm doing United Stan ad-libs.
He tried to sell Harry Maguire in the summer, and Harry Maguire wouldn't leave because he wanted more money.
Facts. Told you, he spits a lot of facts.
He's not interested in playing football, he wanted more money.
I'm flabbergasted.
So, first of all, I think every Man United fan has got every right to say Harry Maguire is not a player I want at this football club. He's been crap for a year, and...
Facts. But again, I think Mark's actually being kind here because... But we'll go with this, just so I'm not making the video longer than it has to be. Let's continue.
He should have left the club this summer. He showed no ambition and he stayed because he wasn't getting the money he wanted. So do not call Man United fans out, Gareth, because United fans have got more reason than anybody to sit there and say, I don't want Maguire at this football club. It's not ridiculous. It's not hate. It's not personal. It really is based on evidence, which maybe Southgate doesn't watch United, even though it's his job. He certainly doesn't watch Maguire play for Man United because...
Isn't that what I said? That they used to go and watch people at their clubs, and if they'd done really well, they'd end up getting a call up to the England team. That's surely part of the job.
United, even though it's his job. He certainly doesn't watch Maguire play for Man United because Maguire doesn't play for Man United. So Southgate needs to keep his gob shut in relation to Man United because he's a fool. He's an absolute fool what he's talking about. How can Man United fans be victimising Harry Maguire for any other reason than he's not good enough? And it's proven. Ten Hag doesn't think he's good enough. He tried to sell him and Maguire stayed because he wanted more money. That was the story. So I don't know what you're talking about, Southgate. I really, really don't know what you're talking about. He's not one of the best English centre-backs. And this myth that Southgate keeps putting out there that he's never let England down. He scored a fucking own goal last night and he was...
Yo, this guy does not pull any punches. I am telling you. I find it hilarious. I love when people speak their mind, regardless of where it's on the internet or not. And he's definitely one of them guys. Let's run that back.
Talking about he's not one of the best English centre-backs. And this myth that Southgate keeps putting out there that he's never let England down. He scored a fucking own goal last night and he was crap against the Ukraine. You're living under a myth, mate, which is your whole career. If you don't win the Euros, now I could win the Euros with England next year, piece of piss. If you don't win the Euros next year, you're the worst English manager in history because you've taken an English team that should have won the Euros 4 years ago, should win the Euros next year, and probably should have won the World Cup. England's just gone through its Spain period of 2010, where it should have dominated international football for 4 years and won at least 2 major trophies, and you've won none because you're crap. Absolutely crap. And as for this whole...
I mean...
it's a consequence of ridiculous treatment of him for a long period of time. No, Maguire being booed or jeered or being spoken about all the time, it's not a consequence of anybody else's actions, it's a consequence of your actions. You pick a player that doesn't play for his club team. You pick a player for England that can't even get anywhere near his club team.
That's so mad. Like, and this is how I know that we're on the same wavelength, because I said exactly that. I remember back in the day, I know you might not think it, but being slightly older, I always recall England called ups were like quite a big thing. It was like, oh, who's going to be called up to the qualifiers for the England team? Oh, it's going to be this defender. Oh, it's going to be these midfielders. It's going to be these strikers and wingers. And you could bet your bottom dollar they were the best in their class for the actual clubs that they were playing for. Apparently that's not the case anymore. Different criteria. Criteria that will end up costing us just because people have got favourites and they're not being picked based on, you know, performance.
You pick a player for England that nobody else would pick, and you bring a player on in a friendly when you should be giving younger players like Colwell a chance. You put him into that position yesterday and he fucked up. You put him on in the second half against Scotland and he didn't need to be there. He played against the Ukraine.
It's actually quite a good deflection technique, isn't it? Oh, everyone stop picking on Harry Maguire. It was like, actually, you've kind of caused it. You picked him. He fucked up. You're saying, oh, everyone's been really mean to him. It's like, take some accountability. You shouldn't really be playing someone who's not playing for their actual club.
He's your first choice centre-back. You should be bringing on at 2-0 up in a friendly against a poor Scotland team, Colwell, who's been playing every game for Chelsea, and he's a left-footed centre-back. You should not be bringing on Harry Maguire, who you've played more times than anybody else and who is right-footed. You brought him on into a game he shouldn't have been playing in, and he fucked up. So all the boos, all the jeers, all the ridicule is on you, Gareth. Because you shouldn't have fucking brought him on. He didn't need to go on. And it had everybody's backs up straight away because they were like, why is Harry Maguire, who played on Saturday night for 90 minutes, coming on in a friendly in the second half?
I'll tell you why, Mark. Because Gareth Southgate feels sorry for him. He's not actually playing any club football, is he? So Southgate's almost gone, don't worry, I know that bad man Eric Ten Hag is not playing you. You should be strolling into that as a starter for Man United. But I got you. Whenever there's like an England call-up, I'm going to make sure you get your game time there, even if it costs us a trophy.
Why is he coming on and why is Colwell or Tomori getting no game time when they deserve it? You fucked up, mate. You caused it, and it bit you on the arse. So what you did is what many people do who aren't good at their job. They get a microphone and they blame somebody else. Southgate blaming English fans or pundits or commentators or Man United fans or whoever else he's blaming is just a mirror. He's blaming himself because he is the one that is ridiculing Maguire. Because everybody else has got a brain player over other players that deserve to get minutes in friendlies, and then you're exposing the fact that he's not good enough and he keeps making mistakes. There's only one person to blame here, and it's Gareth Southgate. And I'm not taking any blame for it, and I don't think anyone else should. As a Man United fan, I've said it time and time and time and time again, he's not good enough. And my vindication and proof is that the manager of Man United completely agrees with us and tried to sell him in the summer. So I have got no guilt about this at all.
Wow. I mean, I'm not sure I could articulate it any better than that, but I totally agree. It's like, why are you playing someone who's not playing for their club side? He's clearly not good enough because we are not playing him. We as in Man United, the club side. And England's like, oh, this is out of order. But I think he might touch on it in a second. But it happens all the time. Like Scott McTominay, oh, he's a really good player. Graham Souness is like, oh yeah, I don't know why. Sorry, that's a really bad Scottish accent. I don't know why he doesn't walk into the Man United side. I think he should. And replace who, idiot? Like, I know these people used to play the game because, you know, they don't stop banging on about it. But why are their opinions? Are they just being biased? Are they just being controversial? Are they just being like that whole mainstream media, all-inclusive, oh, we like a trier? It's bullshit. As Mark said, we want elite, and I think that's where Man United have been going wrong. It's not about whether the guy's a good guy. Don't get me wrong, we don't want complete arseholes, but if he is an arsehole and an excellent player, we want him, you know? If he's a good player, good person, we want him too. But like, if he's an arsehole and he's an excellent player, bring him in. You know, as long as he's not like doing anything against the law. Some people just don't get on. I think Andy Cole, Teddy Sheringham weren't best of mates, didn't really get on. What happened? They won a treble. So,
as a Man United fan, I've said it time and time again, he's not good enough. And my vindication and proof is that the manager of Man United completely agrees with us and tried to sell him in the summer. So I have got no guilt about this at all. People shouldn't be booing Harry Maguire, I don't like it, but he ain't good enough. I don't know the guy, maybe he's a really nice guy, but I'm telling you what, I'm tired of PR spin. And the amount of people messaging me this morning saying, this is on you, Goldbridge, this is on you because of your hate campaign. What hate campaign? Am I on my own?
They always say this as well. Oh, like any negativity that is given out to a player, because apparently we can't criticize players anymore, it comes back to Mark because they play for a team that he happens to have one of the biggest supporter platforms for. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, one thing about Mark is he always says everyone's got their own opinion. You have a debate. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you don't. But that's kind of what it's all about. Not like mainstream media painting a narrative because it suits their agenda.
I stood outside Old Trafford going, Harry Maguire's shit. No, I'm not. Everybody else uses their own eyes. He doesn't play for Man United because he's crap. And that's what Ten Hag thinks. It's not a hate campaign. It's not personal. It's evidential. And Southgate, as England manager, should not be playing silly little games trying to deflect it onto everybody else when he's the guy who picks people like Calvin Phillips and Harry Maguire who do not play for their club team and gets the backup of everybody else with his silly favouritism. So Gareth, look in the mirror. You're the one causing the problems for Harry Maguire because you're picking favourites. Stop doing it and people might start to respect you.
He does have a point.
Colwell deserved a chance. He should have played yesterday. You didn't do it, and it backfired. Own up to it. It's another chapter in the book of You're Not Good Enough to Coach at the Highest Level by Gareth Southgate.
That's right.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm
Wow.
not having it. I'm not having Man United fans being shot at by Southgate. He'll miss anyway, like he did in '96.
That was good. That was good.
But the point is, it's nobody else's problem last night. I'm watching England against Scotland because it's England against Scotland. I never expected to see Maguire play. When he scored, I felt sorry for him. I said it at the time. But I don't want to feel sorry for Man United players because straight away that makes me think they're not good enough. And there's nothing wrong in life with saying, certainly not in competitive sport, you're not good enough. What are we supposed to do now as football fans? Are we going to get desensitised? Are we going to have to sit here for the next 30 years? And is football basically going to become, I think he's rubbish. Don't say that, you'll get arrested. No, he didn't say he thinks he's rubbish. He said he thinks he's trying his best and really probably should be captain and get a pay rise. Good, you can stay. I mean, this is what's going on. Football is becoming more about PR. I've told you this before. Maguire is lined up for the Stephen Bartlett podcast or, Piers Morgan or something. If he isn't lined up for that, then he isn't playing the game. The only way back for Maguire is a sympathy vote. Go through your history. Did your dog get run over? Something like that. Something's got to be in there because... But you know what? Maybe his dog did get run over. Maybe there is a tragedy in the back of his life, and that's really, really sad. But it's not... Thing is, why are they personalising it? It's not personal. It's about football. Footballers have had a lot worse than being called crap and not good enough. They earn hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. There's no divine right to play for Man United, and there's no divine right to play for England. I'd play for Man United England and get abuse every single day, and I wouldn't care, because I'm playing for Man United in England. It's a bloody dream come true. But, it's not only do we pay these footballers massive money, not only do they have massive brand PR spin around them, we've now got to kiss their arse when they're not good enough.
Very well articulated. I even have nothing to add. Continue, my friend.
This is what football is. Football is about opinion. And I don't want that signing. He shouldn't be starting. He's my favourite player. It all falls into the same thing. I can't believe we've got an England manager basically calling out 99.999% of his country for saying they don't want Harry Maguire to play. And he is apparently the genius for picking him. It's incredible. I look at football now and I can't believe certain people are in a job.
It's interesting. Don't they say that the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over and over again? Now, I'm not saying Southgate is mad. Maybe a little tapped. But you're playing Harry Maguire over and over and over again, even though he gets no football for his club. Which means back in the day when you were picking the sharpest players from club sides to play and represent the country, that's now not the criteria that you're measuring by. So what is, if they're a nice bloke, if you get on with them, whether they liked your pictures on Instagram, like what is it?
I really don't. Southgate doubling down on picking Maguire rather than listening to the public sentiment tells you everything you need to about him, and a bit rich saying he's unduly criticised given he's been one of the most protected and overrated players in recent years, says Robbo. What a comment. And of course, the downside to this is, come Friday, you're going to get Eric Ten Hag asked about 4 questions about Harry Maguire and the booing and how it's not fair, and, you know, the PR goes on.
Yeah, the PR for Man United and the spin and everything drives me nuts. And that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be them banging on about Jadon Sancho. It's going to be them banging on even more about Harry Maguire. Will he play? And he'll only play if we've got like Martinez out or someone else is injured, Varane or Lindelof.
We've lost to Arsenal. We've lost to Spurs. We've got 6 points from 12. That's the most important thing for me. Our piece is the game's gone soft. It's pathetic. I mean, it's pathetic. It's pathetic because footballers don't focus on their football. They spend, and I know this for a fact. Right? You know when United were under Ranić in the January, we were getting really, well, everybody was getting good information because there were so many people leaking information. But we were getting quite a bit of information, and obviously we did quite a lot of videos at the time. But as we said at the time, there were players in that United squad in that really bad time after Solskjaer had gone and Ranić came in and it was all falling apart. There were United players at that time who, instead of going to training early and working hard in training, were using all their effort to spin that they weren't the league.
Idiot.
You cannot write this shit. Like, are you well? Disgusting.
That they weren't the problem and other people were. I mean, that's what United players at that time, some, were spending their time and effort doing, and their energy. It wasn't about proving themselves in training so that they could play well on the pitch. It was about getting in contact with this brand and journalist to say this about them and this about them and deflect. And that's what the modern footballer's become. A modern footballer should be training, bit of golf if you're allowed, family time, focused on the next game, enjoying it, looking at how you can play better, watch videos of people who play in your position, learn for the short period you've got playing at the highest level. No, it's on the phone. Have you seen this written about me? Why is he getting away with it all the time? You know, and their agent, instead of saying because he's better than you, no, it's not right. Don't worry, I'll get in contact with this journalist. He'll say something positive.
So true. You just see it daily. Scary times. This is the world we live in now, people.
Are a terrible football club in relation to PR, and we've created monsters. We've signed monsters. We've created monsters. This backstabbing, PR obsessed mentality where none of them seem to realise that if you play consistently well on the pitch, you will be loved by the fans.
And it's so fucking simple as well. Like, give your all, leave it all on the pitch, and the fans will love you.
And if you play consistently badly on the pitch, you will get called out by the fans. What United try and do is they don't focus on the fact that they're consistently crap. They'll be consistently crap, but find a way that makes them popular. McTominay's done it for years. Like, there is a McTominay fan club, even though he hasn't had a good game for United for a year. And when he has a good game, I'll give him his credit. But there is a McTominay fan club. Like, there is. There's a lot of people who like McTominay. He hasn't played well for a year. That's absolutely fine if you want to do that. But I choose to champion players that play well on the pitch. And the players that I like Bruno, Martial over the years, Rashford, Martinez, Casemiro, if they have a bad game on Saturday, I'll say they had a bad game. But apparently I've got an agenda. I've got an agenda against certain players. I was in the minority sticking up for David De Gea. Sticking up for David De Gea. The easy thing to do was jump on the bandwagon and say he's crap. I stuck with De Gea till the end.
That's facts. That's exactly what he done. He didn't have that big kind of Van der Sar or Peter Schmeichel stature, but still a great goalkeeper. And kind of got disrespected on the way out. Didn't like that. But they, you know what? I know I support Man United, but they do that crap a lot. There's certain players, like Ander Herrera, when he left. I watched an interview of Ander Herrera, to slightly digress, and he was talking about the time when he left and how he wanted to be offered and was expecting like a contract, either new or extension, and they came, but right at the 11th hour, and he was like, oh no. And when he was speaking about it, he actually got really emotional and had to walk out of the interview. So Man United aren't the greatest. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes you have to part ways and it's not always a smooth transition. But I think historically they've been quite shit with the way that they've, you know, moved players on or not extended contracts or whatever the case may be.
I was in the minority. Bruno's one of my favourite players. There was a period of time where I was saying for weeks he was shit. So I have no agenda. I have one agenda actually. My agenda is trying to find a way and calling out when we're not doing it, Man United being the club it should be. And I don't care if we sell Bruno or Rashford. If Ten Hag comes in and says, I need, if Qatar buy the club and Ten Hag says sell Rashford and Bruno, I'll be stunned. My jaw will hit the floor, but I'll go, I back this manager because ultimately that if he thinks that's going to make us the best team in the world, we've got to go there. I've said it so many times, if you want to be the best, you've got to be ruthless and you've got to be aggressive. And if you're not ruthless and aggressive on the pitch, in the way that you run the club, in the way that you get rid of players, in the way that you buy players, then you'll never beat Man City. Because Pep is ruthless and he is aggressive. And United are timid and weak. And this is why we fail. You cannot go into the boxing ring with somebody who is aggressive and ruthless and strong and be weak and timid and cowardly. And that is the contrast between, and I never thought I would say this, the contrast between Man City and Man United at the moment.
I'm going to be fair and impartial.
Is strong, aggressive ruthlessness from City and weak, timid cowardry from Manchester United. How can we succeed? Man United players used to play one bad game in 20. When I was growing up and watching the teams with like Hughes and Cantona in it, very rarely there'd be a bad game from anybody. The vast majority of games were brilliant individual performances that added to the collective. Now, it's the other way around, and we champion the one good game in 10. Souness, for me, Scott McTominay walks into that Man United team.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
I mean, you know what?
I'm like, are the chat deliberately trying to set him off? Because that was the perfect thing to say if that's exactly what you're trying to achieve. This is the last bit that I was waiting for, actually, and then I'll close out.
Souness, I'm out. I don't know what you're talking about. And you know what? If you're such a good pundit, can you tell us who he walks into the team for? I'm tired of this. I'm going to start calling this out. I'm tired of this nonsense. It's rubbish punditry. For me, Scott McTominay walks into that team. That's what Graham Souness is saying. For who, though? Who are you dropping? Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, Amrabat, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Rasmus Højlund. I mean, and their end of the lesson. You're just talking out your arse.
I like this guy.
There's no, I can't. Football fans don't want to listen to nonsense anymore. They don't want to listen to Scott McTominay walks in the Man United side because you haven't told us who for. And you know why they don't tell you who for? Because they know they're talking arse. They know that if they say for Casemiro, they're going to lose their job. Channel 4 should ask for their money back. Rubbish. Aaron Ramsdale. Harry Maguire, as we've seen in the past few years with England, is one of the best defenders we've got. He's so strong mentally and he's got a great group of people around him and he knows his qualities. He's always a threat in the box for set pieces. He knows he can defend and he knows he's a leader. Mate, I think his last 2 goals are for Sevilla in Scotland. He plays for England and Man United. Look, I don't know why Ramsdale's probably his mate, and that, you know, I can't argue about footballers sticking up for their mates. I really can't. But sometimes you say it best when you say nothing at all. He's not one of the best players in England.
I love when he does the little song quotes. When you say it best, when you say nothing at all. I can't believe I've done that, but I'm going to leave it in just for bants.
He's not one of the best defenders in England. He doesn't play Aaron. He hasn't hardly played in the Premier League. How can you be one of the best defenders in England, but you don't play in the English Premier League?
Riddle me that.
He plays reasonably well for the England national team because you play farmers most of the time, and Southgate picks him over other people. It's a myth that he's a good English centre-back. He gets picked because Southgate is obsessed with him. I'm guaranteeing you now, if Lewis Dunk had been playing instead of Maguire for the last year, people would be saying what a good player Dunk is. And this is the shame. This is the shame on Southgate. Maguire is not one of the best English centre-backs because he doesn't play in the Premier League. He gets he basically gets given a gift every international break by Southgate. He picks him when he doesn't deserve to get picked. And then England play crap teams and he looks okay. But I'm telling you now, Lewis Dunk is better than Harry Maguire. We saw that last night and we've seen it for the last year. It's a myth. And everybody knows it's a myth. And it's, you know, but it's like Souness' comment about McTominay. Football fans are tired of being fed shit from people who think they know better than us. Like, we see it all the time. But, you know, what can we do? What can we do? But what we can do is just call it out for nonsense. And, you know, this is why I love social media when it's done the right way. Because 15 years ago, you'd be at school or work reading what Southgate said, and there's no comeback, and they can say what they want. A lot of idiots survived in football 15, 20 years ago because there was nobody to come back at them. At least we can do that now. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching.
So, needed to, I thought that was a brilliant reaction. And from the heart, very truthful, agree with pretty much everything that he was saying. In fact, I think some of the things I was saying in between while I was pausing it and then I started it again and he was saying the same thing. So yeah, mainstream media I think is dying a death. Social media is definitely becoming more like the mainstream news, and if it's done right, you get, you know, channels like the United Stand who report the news for the fans. And then there are other channels out there that let you know what's really going on in the world, which you'll maybe never see if you tune into the BBC. So with that, people, stay safe, keep an open mind, and please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.